Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And today is another very exciting day because I'm joined by a very special guest. She is a birth educator, a coach, a master numerologist, a course creator, not to mention an awesome writer. There is, of course, so much more to this incredible human. She is the one and only Georgina Grace. Georgina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here. Thank you for that little intro. That was really sweet.
No worries.
I was like a little bit nervous. Oh, what are you going to say?
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, mate, I am so excited to have connected with you. I saw that you did an awesome reading that was just so incredibly accurate with the one and only Rachel Vaughan. You are just a ball of awesome energy. She is just bloody awesome. But I guess before we dive into all whatever flows through, because we're just, going to be having a good old-fashioned chinwag, I just thought I'd start off for those who don't know you and haven't come across you before, maybe just give a bit of an introduction as to who is Georgina Grace.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't know. It's a great question. Who is Georgina Grace? Question on everyone's lips. No, I always get a bit stuck, when I'm introducing myself as what am I? Who am I? But I guess I start with the basic labels. I'm a mom of an almost 2-year-old. He'll be 2 next week.
Oh my gosh. How did that happen?
I know. I don't actually know how that happened, but he's a fully fledged tiny human.
Yeah, walking and everything and words coming out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. His first ever sentence was "I love you."
Oh, stop it. Oh, stop it.
He said it like a little Frenchman. He said, "Elijah."
Oh. How good is that? How good is
So
that?
good. He doesn't say it so much anymore, but when he first started, it was like every second, thing that he would say. Now it's very few and far between. He must understand what it means now, and he's like, you got to earn this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, I'm a mum and I'm a wife, and when I was about 8 months postpartum, I decided I'm not going to go back to work. So I decided to start my own business, and I became very birth obsessed after the birth that I had with Ollie, my son, which was pretty cool. We birthed him at home, just my husband and I. So I was not going to have him in the system. And I had the most extraordinary experience, much to everyone else's like warning. What are you doing? There's something really wrong with you. That's very risky. No, you have to have babies in a hospital. And I was like, no, I don't have to. Women have been doing this for centuries, more than centuries. I'm sure I could manage one child, Anyway, it went incredibly orgasmic, like painless and totally opposite to everything everyone had ever told me. And I became obsessed with it. I was like, hang on a second, it doesn't have to be traumatic. What the heck? I remember being pregnant with Ollie and sitting on the couch at my sister's house. And I have 5 sisters, but at the time there was only 2 of them or 3 of them. I don't know. And I remember sitting in the middle, sister here, sister here, sister here. And they're all like over the top of me swapping war stories about their birth. And I'm just, this is exactly what you want to hear when you're pregnant. So yeah, it was just, it's so common to have traumatic births, and unfortunately these days, not on any fault of the woman, of the system, because it's designed and set up that way, because women are the most powerful species on the planet, in my opinion. I mean, we can grow, birth and nurture life with nothing else external. There's nothing more powerful than that. And if you're a power hungry group of people, who do you want to attack the most?
Yeah. Yeah.
Women.
Mm.
It is women. And, you know, there's such a women's rights movement that's been going on for so long, except when you get pregnant, then you have actually no rights.
Yeah. Wow.
Like
Wow.
no rights. You have to come in on our appointment, on our schedule. You got to take all the tests that we say you have to take. You have to, you know, basically do everything that the white coats say that you have to do, everything, even through the labor process, everything. And it's so bad that if you don't, they mark little things against your name, and then that can be used against you later on. Like South Australia has these things called birth restrictions. Oh my gosh, I'm going way off topic. This is not introducing myself anymore.
No, it's all right. Go for it. Just go where it goes, mate. Awesome. Love it.
So South Australia and WA are the two states that have these things called birth restrictions, which is bullshit in my opinion. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yes, you can. You may.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and basically they're like these governing rules that say, you know, you in South Australia particularly, you can only give birth either in one of their hospitals or one of their hospital home birth programs, which, you know, people have been I've known people who have had their babies taken off them for suspected free birthing,
Oh my
meaning
gosh.
birthing on your own terms, because
Wow.
you're not allowed to do that. Like it's so bad. And then when you couple South Australia with being the highest, you know, the state that's like the most child trafficking and stuff like that, and they've got these crazy birth restrictions, any chance to take the baby away. You know, I've got friends of mine who she gave birth in the hospital the way they wanted, but she declined a certain intervention during her process.
Yeah.
Weeks and weeks later, the baby came down with something. They put it back to that one thing that she declined and took the baby away.
What? Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's
It's
nuts.
really messed up. It's
Yeah.
really, really messed up. And women everywhere, like 1 in 3 women now are walking away having traumatic births. 1 in 10 are reporting obstetric violence. Like that's actual stats, but that's only the women that are willing to report. It's so messed up. The birth industry, that's what I call it, is so messed up. And there's no resurrecting it. There's no saving it. There's no changing it, because it's designed that way to take women's power away. Because after I birthed my son the way that I did, there's nothing, you cannot get in my way. You know, I'm like fierce mama bear. I will do things my way. I know what's right for him. My instincts are fully intact. You know, I can never doubt my instincts or my intuition after birthing him that way. But when things get in the hospital and then they tell you that essentially your body's not working, so we have to help you birth this baby because your body's not capable on its own, you come out of that experience already feeling like you've failed, questioning every little thing that goes on because the power was taken away from you. It takes women years and years and years to come back from that experience. And in fact, in Ayurveda, they have this saying, it's 42 days for 42 years, which means the first 42 days after giving birth sets the tone for how the woman, that mother, is going to mother for the next 42 years.
Wow. I had not heard that. Wow.
Yeah. And so it's in the cultures where they really empower the woman and celebrate the woman and care for her, they basically have her off her feet for those 42 days. The whole family, the whole village, whatever, they come together and they really care for the woman. They do these amazing ceremonies daily that really nurture her body and bring her body back to itself, back in itself, spiritually and physically. They feed her, she's fully taken care of, and the women are thriving. And not only are the women thriving, but also the whole society around her is thriving. Versus in our culture, it's like, oh, you've had a baby? Well, let me come over and let, you entertain for me, and then let me leave a big mess for you to clean up. Let me just take your baby away for you, which is the number one most, like, you don't take a baby away from its mother anywhere in nature.
No.
Except as humans. And there's something wrong with you if you can't do that, so it's just royally, and you've got to bounce back, oh, you've got this bag of skin on your stomach, like that's not good enough, you got to get that back together, it's just insane. Anyway, tangent, but I don't know, that's me.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the tangent. I can tell how passionate you are about it. And I remember reading on your website your birthing story. That's like, this chick can write, because I was just like, I loved how you wrote the start of it. So for anyone who's listening, you've got to check out her website and read her story, her birthing story. It's so fun, and like it's just real, and just how you write it, it's just awesome. So I just had to say that.
I was like, I love that story so much that I need any excuse to put it anywhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to make a website just so that I can
share that story on there.
Website, because
and I feel like your husband, who is just awesome, he has to get a bit in here, because he did play a starring role in that. Do you think we should sort of mention a bit about that now?
my birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah. We've got lots of topics. I know, and I want to get to the numerology as well too, because I am so fascinated by that as well too. But yeah, give the people listening, like, give them just a bit of a taste of that story that you share on your website.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
So where do I start? Okay, so I became pregnant with Ollie, and I always very specifically say I became pregnant, not I fell pregnant, because that's a term that was created to make women feel like they've fallen somehow, they've fallen from, like, they're beautiful, no longer are you a feminine in your maiden, it's like you have now fallen.
Yeah, but it's the nuance. There's so many things, isn't there? It's just
There's
every
so many things. Every time I hear a woman say, when I fell pregnant, it's like, you didn't fall. Like, this is a miracle that you're doing this. There's nothing. Oh my gosh. No, you became pregnant. I mean, I don't even know if that encapsulates it, but it's better than falling.
Yeah, definitely. Love that.
So, yes, I became pregnant with Ollie I don't remember when the year was.
But you became pregnant.
I became pregnant with him.
Yeah.
And, at the time I didn't know any different. I'd been pregnant a couple of times before. Unfortunately, they didn't go the whole way, which is very, very difficult. But I've learned a lot from those experiences.
Yes.
And it was like 3 months in a row, 3 pregnancies in a row, bang, 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 like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. And I had a taste of, because I had the miscarriages during the wildness of the pandemic, I'd had a taste of how hospital people can treat you, and just horrible. Like, I remember going into this appointment, I was shaking. I was by myself, because Corey was away for work. And I remember having to drive like 40 minutes to this hospital to get the results of this test that I'd had a few days before. Oh, and even that test, you have to go in, you have to get these ultrasounds, and if they can't pick anything up on the external ultrasound, they have to put this wand inside of you, and they, really are not gentle with it. And it was this man who was, I just felt so vulnerable. And I remember him putting this thing inside of me, and he looked down and he gave me this look and said, you're still bleeding. I'm like, well, yes.
Wow. Oh,
It's
gosh.
just horrific. Anyway, so I remember going to this hospital, and this woman, I was the only one. It was the middle of COVID. Everything was masked. There was just red tape everywhere. And I was the only person in this whole waiting area, it was a massive waiting area. She came out after about half an hour. I remember sitting there like shaking because I'm trying to hold it together. I knew what had happened, but somehow having this woman confirm it, it wasn't confirmed until she'd confirmed it.
And it became real then. Yeah.
Yeah, but she came out after half an hour of me waiting and was like, "Are you Georgina?" I'm like, "There's no one else here." Unless I'm sitting amongst ghosts, like.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, I've just got someone on hold. I'm just waiting to hear blah, blah, blah. So I'll call you in a bit." I'm like, "Okay." Still like 20 minutes later, she eventually calls me and she's like, "Oh, you may as well come in while I'm on hold because otherwise you'll be here waiting forever." I got no eye contact from her. Not a single moment of eye contact. I came in, I sat down, she sat at her computer, there's hold music on speaker, and she's just typing away at her computer. And then after about 5 minutes, she says, "Yep, so there was a pregnancy. It's now complete. Just wait a month before you try again, and you're good to go." That was it. No eye contact. And I'm like shaking.
Oh, mate, that's horrible.
Just horrible. No human skills whatsoever. It's like not a small thing you're talking about here.
No.
And
Oh,
I was
so
just like,
sad.
so that's it. And she's like, "Yep, there was a pregnancy, it was complete, and just wait a month before you try. Do you want a pamphlet?" I'm like, that was it. And I had to drive 40 minutes home, like bawling my eyes out. And so that kind of already put me on my backup when it came to the system. But at the same time, I also had no idea of the system at that point,
Yeah.
in terms of the birth system.
Mm.
And so I became pregnant again with Ollie, and you can imagine you've had 2 losses already. So every day of this pregnancy is like going to the toilet, checking for blood, like it's just constant. And
Yeah.
there was a part of me that knew that this was going to be the right one, like this was going to go the whole way, but I can't, like those brain patterns are there now, and those images of seeing just blood waking up in the morning it's horrible. It's absolute, like there's nothing like losing a baby. There's nothing like that.
No.
Anyway, so I became pregnant with Ollie, and I went to the doctors like everyone does. You go to the doctors, they give you a blood test, they ask you, "Oh, have you peed on a stick?" Like, yes. Fucking, do you think I'm just here because like I just see?
Hi. Sort of pop in. Am I pregnant today?
So stupid. So I peed on the stick, and then he gets a blood test, and they check for your beta HCG levels, which is the pregnancy hormone. If you have lots of it, that's a pretty good chance that you're pregnant. And the same thing again, he's just sitting there typing away on his computer, and he's like, "Oh yes, it's very high." I'm like, "Great. Now what happens?" He's like, "Oh, you don't know." I'm like, "Well, no, I haven't been this far before." It just it was just really frustrating. And basically he was just like, "Yeah, okay, well, the hospital, I'm going to refer you to the hospital, and then you'll get a call, and then you'll do your appointments through the hospital." Okay, I guess that's what you do. So I did that for the first half of the pregnancy. It was horrible. The experience was horrible. This was like in Tassie as well. We were living in Tassie at the time, and the restrictions there weren't as intense, but the fear was like, it was crazy because the population there is so senior.
Yeah.
So everyone is, and because they had the borders, and it was like, "Oh, they're going to open the borders soon," and when that happens, and every appointment going into that hospital, I got the spiel every single time. "You've got to get, no, don't have soft cheeses, but you need to have this vaccination." I said no every single time. Corey wasn't allowed to come in with me, so it was just like I was just being attacked every single time I went in there. And it was horrible. Like, you don't know which midwife you're going to get each appointment you're going to go into unless you get on a special program, which they told me all about, and then they're like, "Oh, but sorry, you're too late for it, so never mind."
Oh.
Oh. It's just everything about it was just crap. And the last straw happened when I went into an appointment. I had this old midwife. She looked like she'd been around for freaking ages. She was a dinosaur. And she did the whole COVID spiel. I was like, "Oh, here we go again." I said to her, "I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting I'm just not, I don't feel comfortable. I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
And so she threw her arms up in the air and went back in her chair. And she said to me, well, then if you don't get the vaccination, then you may as well start preparing to give birth to a dead baby.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she was so serious in her face and
Mm.
and meanwhile, this was at the time when the stillborn rate was really skyrocketing. There was lots of babies going through those, what are they, the like the crematoriums. Like there was,
Yes.
it was at the time where all of that was really heightened, and I was
Mm.
and then she's telling me that I'm going to kill my own baby because I don't,
That's horrible.
it was just, I ran out of there bawling my eyes out,
Mm.
so mad, but also there was a part of me that was like, am I doing the right thing? Like,
Mm.
questioning myself.
Yeah.
But I'd also was like, I vowed I will never, ever go back into this place ever again. I don't
Mm.
care what it takes. I cannot trust these people who are giving
Mm.
me death threats to my unborn child,
Yeah, that's just, yeah.
Yeah, horrific. And that's, I'm just so grateful that we were already awake to everything, because there are a
Mm.
lot of women that I know who got the same thing and they gave in and got it.
Mm.
So I'm
Mm.
so grateful that that wasn't me.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that sort of thing, I guess in a way had to happen to shift for you, to see it, and to then step into this next phase of doing it yourself, which, a lot of people, like you said at the start, don't haven't had that experience or know that. And I love what you were saying about how all the families gather around and just all that sort of stuff. It's so different and so foreign here, that sort of, I mean, depending on, your family structure and things like that, but in general, like it's this one way, or no other way. So can
Mm.
you talk about what then, so you had that experience, then what happened?
Yeah. So because Corey wasn't there, my husband wasn't there, so I had to relay to him what had happened.
Yeah.
And he was immediately like, oh, no way. No way. He's like,
Mm.
I trust you and I trust your body. So
Yeah.
however you need to do this is how we're going to do this,
Mm.
And then I was really naive because I thought, oh, I could just hire a private midwife and I'll do it myself. But private midwives, I've learned, are few and far between. The hoops that they have to go through
Mm.
in order to become a private midwife is actually insane. And even then, they're still governed by APRA. So they're still, even though they come to your home and they do it, like that, they still have their own guidelines and everything that they have to follow. So anyway, it was like, I was 30 weeks pregnant. I'm like, what am I going to do? I had never even heard of the term free birthing before. I'm not going into the hospital. There was no one. There was like 3 private midwives in the whole of Tasmania, and all of them were booked out like,
Yeah.
pregnancies in advance. And it was just, I finally found an ex midwife of like 15 years who had left the system because of the mandates.
Mm.
And she'd become a doula. And so she was like, okay, I'll support you. I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And then it got to like 38 weeks and she pulled out last minute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she pulled out because she'd realized the gravity of what would happen to her and her family if APRA found out, because even though wasn't a practicing midwife, they somehow still have some hold over her legally. And if they found out what she was doing, she could literally lose her house, lose everything. She freaked out
Wow.
and pulled out her support. Oh my gosh, I'm like 38 weeks, like gonna pop any day.
Wow.
So I was like, well, we're obviously destined to do this our way,
Mm.
my
Yeah.
own. Corey was a bit nervous because all of a sudden he was the one now. Was like, there's no one else in the
Mm.
hospital. There's like all of the hospital staff, the nurses and the, OBGYNs and all of that stuff. And then when we had a support person, it was her.
Mm.
But then when she left, now it's him.
Yeah.
And the most magical thing happened when that happened. All of a sudden, it was like, this is my family.
Mm.
And I'm taking charge. And there was something that came out of him that was, I was like, whew, I wasn't about to have a baby. Like, we're gonna have another one.
That's awesome.
It's like primal, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they know what to do too, you know, like they're part of this. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So he was a little bit nervous about, you know, oh, what if this, what if that? I wasn't nervous. The moment that we were like, okay, I'm doing this, it was like, oh, I am woman. Like I was just so fully in my, I'm got this. Like this is what I was born to do. And there was just this like, I don't even know, this confidence. I don't know where it came from. But as soon as we switched from going through the system to I'm doing it my way, it was like I couldn't have imagined that kind of confidence coming out of me, you know, before.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it just, the moment, what I learned is that the moment women actually step into and own and give themselves permission to be in their power, magic happens.
Wow. Yeah.
Literally.
I think that happens full stop, whether you're giving birth or not. But I think in this situation, especially, like, wow.
Yeah. It was, I had never felt that way about myself ever in my life until this was happening.
Wow.
And so I'm like, everything's fine, man. We're cool. This is, we got this, you know. Laurie, on the other hand, was a little bit like, what if something, you know? And so we did this course with this amazing couple who, he's like an ex paramedic, but he was a kind of paramedic that would get like helicoptered into the middle of the jungle and deliver, you know, babies in, well, he wouldn't deliver them, but he would support, you know, in like crazy. So, but they had both left the system as well and put together a childbirth outside of the hospital, outside of the system. And it was basically just what to do when shit hits the fan. Not that it will, because it's very rare, but if you're aware of them, you know, of what could go wrong and when you need to call for help and what you can manage yourself. That course, we did that for like, it was like a 4 or 5 hour course. We did it via Zoom and Ollie came the next day.
Wow. Just so it was all fresh and you knew what was going to go. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have to use any of the techniques, but it was like the thing that Corey needed to feel energetically ready. And as soon as he was energetically ready, Ollie was like, great, I'm coming. And he came at 39 weeks and 2 days.
Wow.
Go by their calculating system, which is also bullshit. Yeah. And so that's the lead up to giving birth. Do you want to know about actually giving birth?
Well, I feel like we should definitely highlight a little bit here. And I know that there was also a catch involved. So I feel like we should at least highlight that on the show. Don't you think?
Yes. Okay. So I'll just get right to the point because, you know, I can obviously talk for days.
Love it.
So I was contracting really well. And by the way, my labor was not typical. They say that you're in labor when you have 3 contractions in 10 minutes and they each last 45 to 60 seconds. I was waiting for that. It didn't come. It didn't whatsoever. No, it was like I had a contraction at this time and then it was like half an hour later, another one, and then 15 minutes and then 10 minutes and then 45 minutes. It was all over the place. I didn't know I was in labor until I saw The Bloody Show. And if you haven't heard of The Bloody Show, it is gnarly. It's like when you get pregnant, your body plugs itself up with this mucus plug. And then, you know, when you're about to give birth, it comes out, you know, because your cervix starts opening and then it's like nothing's holding it together anymore. And this thing was dangling between my legs and I was gawking at it for like 10, 15 minutes. And I was like, Corey, quick, go have a look at this. He took one look at it and was like, oh, fuck.
Are we having an alien?
He started Googling, what does a prolapsed cord look like?
Oh, that's so
Started freaking out. Anyway, that was my transition period spent on the toilet, gawking at this thing hanging out of me. We had a shower over bath.
Mm,
No, we had a shower with raised sides. It was not a bath. We spent a lot of time looking for a plug to plug up the hole, and we couldn't find one. So Corey ended up duct taping the hole over. And when I was like, we had this beautiful moment. He's sitting on this chair, and it was like really intimate. And the people we did this course with are like, how you give birth is how you created the baby in the first place, like that level of intimacy. And it was really beautiful and like that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that contraction felt a little bit different. Corey was like, should I get the bath ready? I'm like, yeah, I think you should get the bath ready. And he just pushed me out of the way. I was like, out of here, woman. Like, this is my place. This is my role. So he pushes me out of the way, literally pushes me. I'm like falling on the floor. He goes and gets the bath ready. I'm like, the contractions coming in hot. They are coming in hot. And I'm pacing in this bathroom while he's getting the water ready. He finally gets the water ready. I step in. It burns my skin. Like, it's so hot. I'm like, fuck, Corey, you've got to put more cold water. Too hot. So I get out and I'm like pacing these contractions. There's no break between them now. I'm like, this baby is coming. Like, hurry up. And then so he's like, so we don't have a plug. So he has to pull the duct tape off, empty it out with like buckets of water, and then fill it up with buckets of cold water. And he's got like this little thermometer he uses for his coffee to check. And like, meanwhile, there's a baby coming. Like, hectic.com. And he's like, finally, okay, I think it's ready. So I get in. I'm like, oh, instant relief. He pulls up a chair in front of me and his eyes are rolling in the back of his head. I'm like, go and make yourself a coffee. I don't know why I told him at this moment when the baby is about to come. I'm like, go and make yourself a coffee. Anyway, he goes out, makes himself a coffee. Like minutes away. And then I'm in there swimming around. My body's giving me a little bit of a break, which was really nice. But then I hear this massive bang and I'm like, oh, what was that? I thought like there was a bomb drop or something. And that was my waters breaking. That was just
wow.
the wildest. I can't even explain. It was really crazy loud. Anyway, as soon as the waters started breaking, that was it. Like, this baby was crowning. And Corey came back and his eyes were still rolling about. He didn't quite get his coffee. He doesn't do well being awake at night.
Yeah.
And so so then it was like 3 big contractions, and it was really amazing feeling your baby move through your body. And like I said, no pain. It was, I'd switched. I'd done a lot of work on my language around pain, and I realized that when I would say that I'm in pain, that was me essentially saying that my body's working against me.
Yes.
So I would call it power. My body is so powerful, and that was really empowering as well.
Yeah,
and I
that.
really didn't experience any pain. The closest thing was probably when he was crowning, like head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was 3 big contractions, and I felt him come down and like massage his head down, and then he would come back up, and then he would massage down again a little bit further and push further down, and then come back up. And then it was the 3rd one that he came, and it was on the 3rd one where I had this really profound moment that's never left me. And that was, he was so on the edge of being like in the world and not. And I was roaring, like, I don't know where these primal sounds were coming from, but I was roaring. I remember seeing Corey in front of me, like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And my eyes were closed, and for a split second, I opened them up. I was in like this deep yogi squat, like, whoa. And I looked up, and it would have been like a 10th of a second that this happened. But I was surrounded by like generations of mother.
Oh, how beautiful.
And there was this one main one in the middle, and she was like dressed like so beautiful, like headdress, some kind of like primal, I don't know, royalty. And then there was just women all around and they were drumming and singing and
Oh.
chanting. And it was like they were calling this baby in. And what I since learned is that Ollie is, I had a reading with Rachel and she said that his soul level is so high. Like he's wherever the souls are from, he's
Mm.
like royalty there.
Mm.
And but she said it's weird because he's gotten that high ethically and
Mm.
he's not of human, and so him
Yeah.
choosing to come to Earth is a really big deal. And
Yeah.
so he obviously chose you for a reason.
Mm.
And that also makes sense why I had two miscarriages before him, because it was him trying to come through, but I wasn't at the right level to
Yeah.
bring in such a high level soul. I needed to upgrade a couple of times. The
Yes.
whole time I thought I lost two separate babies,
No.
but it was just skin bags.
Mm.
Oh, that probably sounds really bad, but that's all it was. And it
Yeah.
was the same soul coming through. So anyway, these women were there in ceremony because it was such a big deal that Ollie was coming in. And
Yeah.
that's what it felt like. It was like this is a really big deal. And then the next thing I know, his head popped out. And Corey was like, "Look at it, I can feel it, I can feel his head, I can feel his head, his head, his head." I was like, okay, good. That's good. That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
That's really good. There's a baby, there's a head. Yeah, and then so Corey's hand is down there and he says, and if you ask him now, he'll still get a teddy bear out and he'll still show you exactly how he did it. And he's like, and then I felt him, and then he like slightly twisted and his top shoulder popped out, and then he slightly twisted the other way and his bottom shoulder popped out, and then it was just boom, and he came out so fast, like so fast. It was like a rocket. And then I put him on your chest and it was all good and he was fine and he had all the fingers and all the toes. And that was it. That was our birth.
Wow. How freaking special. How freaking special. And just that moment as well, like of just the generations and the women there.
Mm.
Like you're never alone, are you? And it's just
Mm-mm.
and you would not have had that experience, I don't think, if but it would never have gone any other way than this way. This is how it was supposed to be. Do you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. And through the whole pregnancy, I was very clear that Ollie was actually leading the way. His soul
Yes.
was
Yeah.
dictating how things should go. And,
Mm.
when the last doula pulled it out, she somehow managed to find two or three other women who could support me in her place. She felt so guilty for pulling out. And
Mm.
it was just like, even though they were there and like anyone else would have taken those options, there was something so strong in me that was like, nah, they're not right.
Yeah.
There was just always something that I was like, nah, nah, nah. And so,
It's like your intuition, like, and like, I think, when you're pregnant as well, like, I feel like, people say that your intuition is heightened even more. And I love that you said that, Ollie's leading the way because, you know, he's a soul in his own right coming through. And yeah, and like, what two better people to come through to? You've got Corey, the catching champion, and then yourself that has gone through all of that to then, really know that actually, because I mean, I've often thought about this as well too. I mean, people were having babies before all of these things were in place. So,
mm,
yeah, it's such an interesting thing. And then now you get to help and support other women in their process. So you've
mm.
got courses and things, and people can work with you to do that. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I am in the middle of writing my own birth education course, which is really exciting. It's called Birth Rite, RITE. And I gave birth the way that I did, and it was so freaking insanely, unimaginably amazing. I was like, everyone needs to know that this is not abnormal. This is how birth is
Yeah,
meant to go.
yeah.
So I went crazy and I started supporting birth. I became a doula and I supported all versions of birth. And the wild thing was, every single birth that I supported ended so traumatically. It
Mm,
was like a hospitalized birth. It was all the interventions under the sun. there was one where the woman actually lost her baby, you know, and there was another one where the baby almost died. It was like a 60-hour long, you know, obviously before I started supporting birth, I was like, I'd done so much research into the system and how they manipulate and how they control and take power away. And I looked into the science that they have that supports all of the guidelines that they use for all of the routine interventions that they offer all the women, and the science is just full of crap. It's just no science. There's a lot in the birth world that isn't supported by science.
Yeah, right.
That they do so routinely, so routinely, even like monitoring the heartbeat. This is something that they just do. They just do it. And there was never any science or anything done to ever support that from the beginning. And now it's too late. Now they can't do any because it's not ethical to do, you know. So there's just so much, and every single birth that I supported has been so deeply traumatic for me to support, you know, let alone for the woman. But I've since learned that that's what needed to happen. I needed to, you know, there are doulas and birth workers that have never experienced what I've experienced.
Yeah.
So as hard as those experiences were, I've learnt so much. I have learnt so much about birth and about it being a portal. I've learned about the system. It's something wild to research about the system, but then to see it play out firsthand.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so I'm putting together a birth course where I'm going to teach you all the things that they don't want you to know. And I'm going to teach you how to energetically protect yourself, because birth is a portal. And when you're giving birth in a hospital, especially, the number one place where dark entities and energies and anything like that is, it's like the hospitals are the hub for them, because there's just trauma after trauma after trauma that happens in there. And no one's going around a hospital with a sage stick.
No.
You know, like,
not that we know of anyway. Yeah.
no, they used to do that. They used to do that. This is like where midwives originated. They were called the Three Sisters. I'm pretty sure this is accurate. The Three Sisters would come, and birth was considered dangerous in the sense that it would open up a portal and invite all of these, you know, you were open to all of the dark things coming in. So these Three Sisters would show up, and they would bless the space and cleanse it and, you know, ward off all of those dark things. But then, anyway, the church got involved and didn't like women having all of this power, because it was really a women's domain, childbirth. And then that's when gynecology was born, and only men at the time could study. Women weren't allowed to study. So, but if, you know, so then it gradually got taken away from women, and it went from like men trying to understand how birth works. They can only relate to the woman's body as a machine, and that's why so much of the terminology is all mechanical. When it comes to our bodies, it's all mechanical. It's the only way they can relate to our bodies. It's not a mechanistic. We are not machines.
Yeah.
You can't just like turn a dial up and then, you know, but that's what they think. And I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, your course. So you're
yeah.
So everything you've learned, and then all of these things, you're bringing it in together now, so people can, and then choose from their own intuition and from where they are at to decide, okay, how am I going to do this? I guess it's to give them another option and to inform them of another way, really.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, you know, when you go through the system, they don't tell you what you need to know. They tell you what will happen if you don't do what they're saying you need to do, and they'll often make it really intense and scary. They'll go straight to the chances of your baby dying or you dying. And it's like, so the statistics are actually so low. Like, for example, a woman who's 34 versus a woman who's 35. 35 is considered geriatric in the birth world. And as soon as you're considered geriatric, your chances of the baby dying is doubled, But when you look at the stat, it's 0.01 versus 0.02. So technically, yeah, doubled, but very tiny doubling.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
don't tell you this stuff. And
Yeah.
they won't, when you ask questions, they don't want to answer those questions. And a lot of them don't know the answer because they're so trained in the routine of just, this is what you do, and this is what you do, and this is what you do.
Mm.
And so part of this course is about, like, these are the complications that are likely to happen, the what ifs. And with those complications, here are the interventions that they're likely going to offer you. And this is the process of those interventions that happen. You know, they might want you to come in and break your waters, right? Because, oh, it's getting close to 40 weeks, which it's all estimated. You can't actually know when you are due unless you know the moment the little spermie went into their egg. Like, and you don't, it's all hogwash. It's all, you know, different places in the world consider different, you know, like in Japan, 42 weeks is considered full term, and anything over that is over. Whereas here it's only 40 weeks, you know. So it's like, how can it be different? It's not like women are different, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
So they'll get you to come in and break your waters, but what they don't tell you is that, oh, now you're open to because the bag of waters protects the baby from bacteria and all this kind of stuff. So the moment they break them, oh, now we need to pump you full of antibiotics because there's an infection risk. And the moment they do that, it's like, all right, but now we need to quickly get this baby out because we don't want them to be in there for too long without their waters. And but essentially you're forcing your baby to do something it's not ready to do. So of course, it's then going to get intervention equals intervention equals intervention equals intervention. And then your whole body is like, hasn't had even a chance to do what it is naturally meant to do.
Supposed to do.
That's right. And then you come out feeling like you've already failed. Your body already failed. Like, I didn't even get started before I was told I'm failing, you know. And they literally say that to women, you're failing to progress. And it's just, it's and then, you know, a woman could come out of her birthing experience roaring like a lion with so much power, and you can't mess with her, or she'll come out totally a shell of a human being, which is happening so often. And like, I just cannot imagine a world full of women who are so empowered by their body and their birth, you know. Like, this is, I became so obsessed.
I feel like you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and these things happen. Like, you know, hindsight's beautiful as well, because you can go, okay, well, we know now why I had to go through that shit and that pain to be able to go through this, and then to be able to help so many other people as well. Like, you know, it's just you know, that's, yeah, like I said, beauty of hindsight. And now, like, I can see how passionate about it. Like, it's just obvious, and there's no doubt that you're just going to keep learning, keep teaching, and keep growing all of this, you know. And Ollie came through to help with that too, you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. And he's a ruling one and born on the 1st. So
so let's get into some numerology now, because that was going to be my next question. What are his numbers? And talk to me. Let's do it.
So Ollie he's born on the 1st. He was born under a new moon, and he's a ruling 1. He's a ruling 10-1. So you can be a ruling 19-1, you can be a ruling 28-1. He's a ruling 10-1, which means he is
writing this down.
So like a pure 1 energy. That means this is potentially, it could mean that this is his first lifetime as a human, very first one ever, or first one for a very, very, very long time. And 1 energies are people who, they're here for a very specific reason. They always do things with purpose. They will not, like, you'll never see a 1 energy just like roaming around the shops, browsing. Like, they move with purpose. They will go to the shops when they have something to buy. I don't want to waste time. They're on a mission. This is how they do everything, and they can get really frustrated. Frustration is like, every number has their like their main emotion that they feel, one energies, it's frustration, and it's like so this is my son. This is Ollie. You can't tell him what to do. I've known that from the very beginning. Even when I was pregnant with him, I cannot tell him what to do. We'd go in for scans and things.
Yeah.
And he would do backflips in there. I remember there was this one scan I had to do it. And you have to like drink all this water. It is the worst process. You have to drink water so that you can basically push him to the surface so that he can show up on the scan. I did this. We were at this freaking hospital trying to get this scan done. I don't even know how many hours. I'd had so much water. They make you hold on to it for the longest time.
Oh man, I'd piss myself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I did. And yeah, he just did not want to be seen at all. And it didn't matter what, like I'd go in afterwards, they would use a little Doppler thing on no, not interested. They'd freak out because they couldn't find the heartbeat. I'm like, he's just hiding. He just doesn't want you invading his space. Like, you know,
leave him alone.
Leave him alone. But yeah, understanding his numerology has been the biggest gift for me because one, it's made my job so much easier as a parent. I could understand his unique frequency. You know, like this is the frequency that he vibrates on. And if I try and impose my frequency on him, it's not going to work. And I've tried and it doesn't work. So I've got to let him vibrate at his own frequency, and understanding what his frequencies are is just, makes everything so much easier. And him being a one energy, it's literally just like, let him lead the way. And every time I do that, magic happens. Like one of my best friends in the whole world I met because Ollie was insistent on us leaving the house right there and then. No, nothing, like he had a t-shirt on, no pants, was completely naked from the waist down. I had no shoes on. Like I'm usually walking around with no shoes on anyway, but you know, anyway, it was not a time that we were going to be leaving the house. I was in the middle of packing and all of this stuff. Anyway, he grabs my hand, reefs me out the door. He leads me to the park. I didn't even know he knew how to get there, but he walked me to the park the entire way. We got to the lights. He wasn't quite tall enough, but he gestured for me to push the button, and he stood there with his hands like, you know, folded and waited for the little man to go green. And when it did, then he pulled me across the road and he walked me directly up to this woman who was there with her husband and kids. And then since that moment, we've been best friends.
Wow. Oh, that is so awesome. I love that.
Yeah, he's something else. And so I've just got to let him lead the way. Like we've seen wild koalas out on walks that we were not going to go on because Ollie wanted to go on a walk. We've seen families of dolphins that, like, I've never seen dolphins before in my life. And then all of a sudden I see dolphins because we are leaving the house when Ollie wants us to leave the house. And he's a natural born leader. And this is what one energy is. They're natural born leaders. They are, don't tell me what to do. I will lead the way. I will not follow anyone else's way at all. I have to negotiate with him like all the time. He's not even speaking full English yet. He still very much speaks his own language, which I love. I love his little language.
So that's awesome. I just love that I'm just picturing him walking down the street with you, leading the way, just going, you know, we're going to talk to this woman over here. And it's just like when you allow for the magic as well, like how special is that? How special is that? So with the numerology, like that is like frequency, it's energy, and people come in with different things. So I know that that's something that you do as well. You do numerology sessions with people. So what is it that you look for? And, you know, can you talk a bit about that?
Yes. Okay. I can talk for days about this. Well, just give me any topic and I can talk for days. Don't even give me a topic. Just I'm
with you, woman.
Okay. So what I practice is Pythagorean numerology. I'm pretty sure that's what Dan Millman talks about in his book. I haven't actually read his book. I really should get around to reading that because people are like, anyway, they always want book recommendations. And I'm like, yeah, this is a good one. But I learned from a woman who she'd been practicing it for like 30 years. And she learned from a man who'd been practicing it for like 50 years. So it's like been passed down knowledge. something special about that.
Yeah.
So Pythagorean numerology, Pythagoras was a white man who lived around 500 or so BC. You know, this numerology is something that's been around way longer than he existed, but he was the first white man that people took notice of. And usually in history, when white men did stuff, that's when, you know, history is written by the victors. So it's called Pythagorean numerology. And essentially, you know, as you know, the universe is made up by energy. That is all it is. There's nothing else that goes on there other than it is all energy. So Pythagoras, what he did, which was very convenient, was he labeled the energy with numbers. There is infinite amount of energy that exists in the universe. Equally, the numbers 1 to 9, there's an infinite amount of combinations. So it works really, really well. In numerology and in other modalities also, it's said that we sign a contract before we come into each life cycle. And on that contract, we put everything that we're going to experience, the date we're going to be born and the name we're going to have, and everything in between, every tiny little experience. And so essentially, when I take your birth date and I take your birth name, I create a chart, which is basically that contract for this life cycle, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that contract tells you everything you need to know about yourself, how you make decisions, whether that's more from an emotional center or more from intuitive, more from a intellectual space. It tells us about the kind of health you're going to have this lifetime. It tells us, you know, I can work out different time periods in your life. You'll be governed by certain energies and what certain personality traits you have and what kind of work you should be doing, or what you're like in relationships, or what your parents are going to be like growing up when you were a kid. Like, there's so much, so much. And you can do this obviously with people, which is what I mainly do. I do readings and stuff like that, but also I teach numerology, and I love where people take it, because if you think of what has a date and what has a name, everything. Everything. And so now you can start to like, numbers are the language of the universe. When you understand what the universe is saying to you through the numbers, it's limitless, absolutely limitless. And all of the big organizations and the big elites, blah, 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 they know about this stuff. Of course they know, like, this is what runs the world. And I'm like, well, screw them. Why should they be privy to this information and not us? Do you know what's we are the pure hearts. Those are just assholes using it to manipulate us. Like, screw them, you know? So this is why I'm teaching it. I'm like, oh, everyone needs to know about this wisdom, because it runs the universe. There's no career, there's no job that doesn't distill down to numbers. And, you know, you can use numerology to understand the destiny of a business by the name that you give that business. You can use it to launch certain things on certain days where the energy of that day, particularly for you, is more conducive to what you're wanting to pull in. I use it when I do work with women who have had traumatic births. I work with them afterwards to help their healing, blah, blah, blah. I will do a chart up for them so I can understand exactly how they tick. And I'll coach them to that chart, because their chart is their truth. You know, and so it's a direct access in.
So with the numbers as well, okay, because I know there's lots of different variations of numbers and all that sort of stuff. But and there's an infinite number 1 to 9. Then there's master numbers, or what did you call them? Not master. What's the number? Or is it master numbers that goes up to 33? Is that right?
Yeah. So master numbers are essentially doubled numbers. It can be any double numbers. It can be 99 as a master number. When you double a number, you get double of that energy, which makes it potent. And also equally, like heightened senses as well.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
example, 11 is a master number, but it's a double one. Ones are very powerful people. They are like the natural born leaders. A one energy will watch someone do something and then do it better without even having to think. They just know the better way to do it. One energy is usually like the people who they're the number 1%, right? They are the elite athletes, they either need to be running their own business or be the CEO, be the boss. Like they want to be the best. When you double that energy, that becomes really potent, really, really, really potent. But because of doubling that, heightened sensitivity comes with that, heightened senses. So the 11s are like, they have psychic ability. They have, they're the spiritual messengers of the numbers and highly ambitious because of the double one energy. But because the double one also equals 2, it comes with more sensitivity. Like 2 energies are very sensitive people. These are the connectors, the collaborators, they're the peacemakers. So if an 11 energy isn't stepping into their power, often they can be more submissive. They'll be more of the 2 energy, which is the number 2. So second in charge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like with a 33, then you'd have the 33, but you'd also have the 6 energy. Because I always thought it didn't go up to 99. I thought we stopped at 33, and then because you add the numbers together. So if you were like a 5 and a, okay, like if you were wait, numbers. If you're a number that was above 33, then you add it together, and then that was your number.
So people,
is that right?
Yeah, it is right. Very good job.
I'm learning.
Maths, numbers. I'm not good at maths,
No,
but
me either.
I'm good at numerology. They should teach numerology in school, not maths, because maths
I would have freaking loved it if they taught because I've always been fascinated with numbers and their meaning, but not maths and its meaning. And maths has its place, and totally, but yeah, it just
the waste. It's a very small percentage of people actually go on to become mathematicians.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely was never going to be me.
No, don't get me wrong. When I was in school, I was doing like year 12 maths in like year 8 and year 9. Like
you crazy woman.
Yeah, I was crazy, but it was like, I loved it because it was like, there are certain formulas to answer these questions. It was not open-ended. It was not up for discussion. There was no interpretation. It was like, this is it. And you can get the answer right. And I loved that. Give me 5 pages of an equation. I would solve that because there's a certain method and process and equation to solve it. I didn't like open-ended things. I still don't. And that's, I think, why I like numerology so much, is because you can't mess with it. I'm taking your numbers, and I'm relaying information back to you based on what the numbers mean. I can't mess with that. Of course, there's intuition that comes in, and my background in coaching and stuff like that. But at the heart, it's your numbers, And so to answer your question, let me get back on track here. Yes, so you add them together, and then that's their number. So we call that either ruling number or the life path number. They both mean the same thing, which is essentially you add up your birthday individually. So my birthday is 24th, 11th, 2 + 4 + 1 + 1 + blah, 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 blah. Like that, you get to a number, and then you add those 2 numbers together, and that's your ruling number or life path number. However, a lot of people will disregard the number before. So if you add up my birthday, I get to 30. 3 and 0 is 3. So I'm a ruling 3, but I'm a ruling 33. Because I'm very thorough and a little bit anal, I don't like to disregard the first number, because every number that is involved with your numbers, your birthday, your name, tells us something about you.
So what's that? So sorry to interrupt. So you got the 3 and the 0, but what number would you be disregarding?
So people will just call themselves a 3. I'm just a 3. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yes.
I could be a 21 3 or a 12 3. Both of those are very different to a 33.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone can be a 27-9
Mm-hmm.
or a 36-9. Both are very different flavors.
Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah. So two people who are ruling 9s can be very different because of that number before.
Yeah.
And other things, but really that number before.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah,
that
I
make
think, it totally makes sense because I was thinking back to Dan Millman's book, which, like I said, years ago I read it, but I've still got it. And it has the number before and then your ruling number or your life path. The whole thing is your life path number, isn't it? But yeah.
Yeah. So that number in itself tells us so much. And often people will have numbers in their ruling number that they don't have in their birth date. So, and because, I always say that people design their own contracts. And so I love knowing this information because I'm like, wow, you have specifically put this number there. Why have you specifically put this number there?
Yeah.
How does this make sense to you in your life and your life path and all of that? It's absolutely fascinating. And people, like, I do readings with people and they don't know really what they're getting in for. We do these readings because they think, I don't know what they think when they're going to get a numerology reading, but they don't. They're like, whoa, like this is something else.
Yeah.
It's really so detailed, like so detailed, and they come out of them often because I make it my mission to set people back on their right path.
Yeah.
And they often come out of the readings like, I just can't even deal with, like, that was one woman was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. At the end of the reading, she was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. It's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Why you can't, but it's and for me, like when I started understanding my own numerology, it was like I'd always struggled with money. And I can't tell you the different money mindset things that I've done over the years and the different programs and the this and the that and and then I learned numerology and I was like, I just don't have any of the money numbers. So it doesn't really come naturally to me. The numbers you're born with, your natural tools and talents. So the ones you don't have are your natural challenges.
And they're there for you to teach you so you can learn and grow. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And if you live in alignment with your numbers, then abundance flows. But we often spend most of our lives thinking we have to do everything totally not the way that it becomes natural to us. That's not enough. Either our conditioning has told us, no, don't do it that way, do it this way.
Yeah.
Or it's, society and there's someone else that's become successful. So let's emulate that, except they've got completely different numbers to you. So of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really relate to that because I that's why I never do a step by step. This is how you do it. Like I'll say, this has helped me this way. It's a bit of a framework, but do it your way because no one is the same.
No one is the same unless they're born at the exact same time, at the exact same place, and have the exact same name, but even then they're going to have their own different flavors because they have different upbringings and their parents have different numbers and different frequencies that they impose on them. And, it just goes on and on and on. And so when you understand most of my abundance or success, which are really I'm nowhere anywhere yet, right? But like most of it has come from when I've understood my own numbers and I have played to my own strengths.
Yeah.
When I do that, abundance has come. Even though I don't have those numbers. And I understand the natural flows of the universe. So I can use that to my advantage as well.
Yeah, well, because you're allowing it to flow, and that's what it doesn't matter what numbers you are. If you that again, it comes back to stepping into your power as well too, knowing yourself, and the numbers can help do that and get you reflecting upon where you're going, and you can see why you've had challenges and things like that. But yeah, it's allowing it to flow and using your strengths, and that doesn't mean you have because none of us can do everything anyway.
No, but there is a level of expectation that we have of ourselves that we do everything. And a lot of that that's conditioning, right? To
Mm.
separate us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that we're not a community of
Yeah.
supportive people for each other. No, we've got to go it alone. And, you know, and it's, so many tangents I could just go down.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you all day. I can't even remember what time I pressed record now. How long were you?
I have no idea.
No, it's because I
I
just
love
feel
it
like
though.
it's so good, isn't it? It's so good.
Yes.
And there's just, I mean, I just think, and like numerology, like there's astrology, there's so many different tools that we can tap into that we can use to harness our greatness.
Mm,
And so much of it just comes back to us, doing the work on ourselves and trusting ourselves. And like you were saying earlier, our intuition and really listening to that. And
mm,
that is when we step into our power. That is when we know ourselves. And to have a tool like numerology, just be able to also mirror back, oh, no wonder I'm sort of been tripping up in that area. Oh, that makes sense because, when I do show up in that way, things just seem to flow. And that
mm.
is just another tool to help us to get us to know ourselves better, isn't it?
Yes. And I'll take it even further and say, like, understanding your path as well. You start to see why you had necessary for you to go through those trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
Absolutely necessary. And it becomes unquestionable when you're looking at it. It's uncanny because you're looking at it and you realize, I designed this from the very beginning. This exists in my numbers. And it's people are like, how did you know that? How did you know that happened at that time in my life? I
Yeah.
said, well, you put this in your contract so that you would experience that,
Mm.
and it's a whole other, and it's really cool as well, Narita, because with the births that I've supported, I mentioned there was one woman who lost her baby she was 37 weeks pregnant, and then her baby's heartbeat just stopped. So I did a chart for her baby. I got to give her a reading for her baby and tell her all about what her baby is like.
Wow. Oh, that's so special.
So special. And so
Yeah.
now it's not like she can relate to something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gives it I guess it fills that sort of gap. I mean, it would be just horrific and such a tragedy, but at the same time, to be able to have that, what a gift. What a gift.
Mm,
Mm.
mm,
Yeah.
just so magical. And yeah, I did a reading for an 11-year-old girl once, like a few weeks ago, and I was like, somehow doing a reading for her at 11 somehow healed and in something in me at the same time, because
Yeah.
this information, understanding yourself at this level from that age, where we usually spend those next 10-15 years going through like the freaking like spin cycle of like, who am I, what do I want, and all of this stuff,
Yeah.
she gets it from 11.
Oh, that's just showing off, isn't it? Like, really? I wonder that, like, it makes me think of that scene in The Labyrinth. Have you watched that movie, The Labyrinth? Have you ever watched it?
Forever ago.
I've talked about it before, and at the start, like this little worm things, the lady asks the worm, "Oh, which way do I go to get through the maze?" And I need to get to the castle, and he goes, "I'll go that way." And then she sort of goes on her merry way and has to go on this big adventure. And he's like, "Oh, if she went that way, she would have gone straight to the castle," which is exactly where she needed to go. But I guess she had to have those trials and tribulations for her journey and for other people, and especially these kids coming through right now. They're just they're
Oh my
so
gosh.
powerful. They're so tuned in and tapped in, aren't they? And they're bringing the
Yes.
frequency up of this planet.
Yes. Well, let me talk about that,
Yeah.
because one thing that I mentioned in what was it? It was this, anyway, in the course that I'm doing at the moment, the numerology course.
Yeah.
We were learning about ones and twos, and it was really funny. One of the women in the course was like, her daughter, I think she's 60, this woman, her daughter asked her, "How's your course going, Mum?" And she's like, "Oh, good, we get to learn about 1 and 2 today."
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
funny. But
That's awesome.
I was like, this is an adult learning class, we are learning about 1 and 2. But
Oh,
anyway, so if you look at history, we've been in the 1900s, we've been in the thousands, so it's been 1900, 1800, 1700, and this one energy is a very dominant energy. It's a masculine energy. odd numbers are masculine, feminine numbers are even. So we have been under the reign of masculine energy for such a long time.
Yeah.
And now we're in the 2000s, and particularly the 2020s, because it's a double up of that two energy. It's the twos are like everything they do. At the base of everything is love. They want to keep the peace because of love. They are like, they're the ones that are going to work in teams and collaborate, and like they're the gatherers, and they want unity and togetherness. Like the father, leader, masculine, protector, that's one energy. Two energies more like the mother energy. Yeah, so these babies are being born in the 2020s. There's something really special about them, because they are coming to literally raise the vibration, and they're doing that with their numbers automatically. And I don't know, every woman that I speak to who has had a baby in the 2020s, she's like, they're like, it's required and demanded more healing from me. Because we are like 1900 babies trying to raise 2000s babies, and we don't know how to do that necessarily, because we've never had 2020 babies before.
Yeah. Wow, that's huge, isn't it?
Yeah. And then so when I relay that back to the experiences that I've had supporting some of these 2020 babies, these babies are something else that have come through. And it's just it's actually wild. And so it's at a time now where being a mum and mothering, we're coming full circle here. It's so important to empower women and motherhood now, because there's such an attack. There's been such an attack on mothering for, oh my gosh, thousands of years. But now it's like with these 2020 babies, they are really, really something else. And if we have mothers who are traumatized and beside themselves and shells of a human being trying to raise these babies, we're going to end up with all of the what we've seen in the media, the hyper feminized, men that are not men, and women who are hyper masculine, it's all going to just be really messed up. So it's really, really important now, to work on ourselves, to heal, to do whatever you need to do to actually be in your power, because these babies that we're having, these are the ones that are really raising the vibration that we need to eradicate all of the darkness. You can't, doing it one by one is not enough.
Yeah.
I did a reading for a woman who's like on the ground in the States, on the ground in there actively trying to pull the kids out from the tunnels.
Yeah.
And she was like depleted, beyond depleted. She was having a reading because she was like, I know this is my life purpose, but this is really hard.
Yeah,
I
it would
keep
be.
getting
My God.
chewed up and spat out, and people who are supposed to be part of the movement up there to bring the kids out are like traitors, like they're in there trying to like mess it all up. And so she's been led down certain paths, and like it's so full on. And I remember saying to her, like, this is not how you're meant to do it. This is not how you're meant to do it. You got to find a ley line and sing loving songs into that ley line. We got to raise the frequency, work on your healing. This is how you do it.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that. And I know, because Rachel talks about that as well too. She's incredible, and there's people around the planet doing that. That's what we do when we talk about that's how we do it though. Yeah, we do. We raise the frequency by knowing where these ley lines are, is knowing that our frequency is so freaking powerful. And when you combine all of this stuff together, that is what shifts it. And then you've got the kids coming through, that is shifting it. We're in the energy of the two now, and like nothing's going to stop that. We're here for thousands of years now in that. So it's just it's like it's unstoppable, like it has to happen. And it's just shifting, and we're like there's still bits that have got to be, that has to fall away. And then we get to be here for this experience of seeing everything transform. It's like, how lucky are we in a way, just
Yeah,
how, yeah,
it's really cool. It's really, really, really cool. And like being a mom with Ollie, who's something else, you know, it's like watching it happen. And
mm,
I have had to dig real deep so many times because there's just ways that he knows that things
yeah,
happen that I don't. I just don't have the baseline for that knowledge or wisdom that he does. And
mm,
it's really hard because I was brought up in a very authoritarian household, and there was lots of abuse and lots of like, don't
rules,
speak,
yeah,
lots of rules.
yeah,
I'm a survivor myself, like not of SRA, but of child sex abuse
yes.
and many other versions of abuse.
Mm.
Shouldn't laugh about it. Why do I laugh about
Well, you can,
it?
at the same time, like, and I know you're not laughing about it, like, as in that, but it's kind of like you've gotten through all of that, and that's where your strength and your power comes from as
Mm.
well. Like, it just only made you stronger.
Well, I was meant to go through it.
Yeah.
I was
If you
meant to
set
go.
up your contract, if you're looking at it that way, you can't deny
That's
it from
right.
that point, can you?
No, I can't. And it's
Doesn't make it right though. Doesn't make it right.
it doesn't make it right. But if I
No.
wasn't exposed to it, I'd be on a very different path,
Yeah.
And I needed to be exposed to it because yeah, there are people who you think you can trust that you can't actually trust.
Yeah.
And that is very important for how I mother Ollie,
Mm.
like I'm protective of him,
Yeah.
pretty protective because I know the reality.
Mm.
Like, I'll let him do whatever the heck he wants to do. Honestly, my only two rules are don't eat shit and don't run onto traffic.
Yeah. Please don't run onto traffic. Yeah.
Please don't run into traffic. And if you can avoid the possum shit, please, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
That'd be handy too.
Yes.
Don't need that shit all around the house.
Literally. Those are
Yeah.
my only two rules. But when it comes to other people with Ollie, I'm very protective.
Yeah.
Um, I wish it didn't have to be, but
Yeah.
you
And
do.
yeah, you do. And I think that's, I mean, because that is where a lot of that stuff happens, is you just don't feel like that someone will do that, because you won't do that. But had you
Mm,
not gone through that experience, then your eyes wouldn't be open enough to be able to pick up on the signs that you need to pick up on. And that doesn't mean you're living in a place of like, oh, everyone, but you, I mean, that's the sort of depth that is needed to be able to, because these kids, and any kid, any
mm,
person, are so
mm,
important.
mm,
And it's vital that we know sort of what game has been played. Otherwise, if you don't know, there's a game being played, but if you don't know it's being, you're on the court, like, yeah, then that's the thing, don't you? You just
mm.
got to be aware.
Got to
Um,
be aware. And even I'm these days I'm more energetically protective of him
yeah.
because of his soul level.
Mm,
And I'm so aware of how easily and quickly things can get in and attachments can come in and
yeah.
mess with his frequency, because that's often how he's mostly been attacked
Yeah.
energetically. And it's been really wild. I have to tell you this story. Ollie is so tuned in. Like, he has some English words, but he still mostly speaks his own language.
Yeah.
But he has his way of communicating with me, of course. And there's been times when I will be putting him to sleep at night. He's still a breastfed baby, of course, because he'll stop when he's ready. I cannot tell him no.
Yeah.
How could I? He's royalty.
Yeah.
Like, give him the boob when he wants it.
Yeah.
Um, So I'll be putting him to sleep at night. And there was this one time I was doing that and he was so calm, so relaxed, so peaceful. It was just, would have been minutes and he would have fallen asleep. And out of nowhere, he just springs up and he's sitting up so straight and he is like hysterical, completely beside himself, like screaming like something's trying to take him, like this kind of
Yeah.
like high pitched primal kind of scream. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I pick him up and he's trying to communicate to me something. So I'm following his lead, of course, and he's pointing. He's pointing in this direction. He's pointing in this direction. He's pointing in that direction. I'm following where he's pointing. He finally takes me over to where I keep the sage sticks.
Oh, wow.
And he's pointing at the sage sticks and he's like pointing and he's just so beside himself.
Wow.
So I start lighting the sage sticks, and when the smoke starts going and it goes off, because I'm like lighting this thing. And it starts going, and then he starts going, bye bye,
Oh,
bye bye, bye bye. He's just waving at the smoke, bye bye, for like 5-10 minutes,
wow.
constantly, bye bye. So I join in, bye bye, and we're all saying goodbye to whatever we're saying goodbye to, because if I don't do that, then I'm going to freak out. And then
Wow.
after about 10 minutes, boom, asleep.
Wow. I'm so glad you shared that story. That is massive. That is massive. And I mean, and these things happen all the time. And if you're not aware, and if
Mm,
you're not in tune with, being able to listen, like
mhm,
you can mistake it for something else. Like, and
mm,
yeah, yeah. I know. I
yeah.
remember having a conversation with one of my friends, and she was talking about how her friend's kid just kept throwing itself around the room.
Mm,
And she said, that's not her kid. Like, that's not your kid's not doing that. And I think when you're not aware of, open to the energetics and what can possibly happen there. So I love that you spoke about that, because I mean, again, going back full circle again, we are all energy.
yeah.
And so, and then our frequency, like Ollie's light would be so bright. So it would attract a lot as well too. So the fact that you know what to do, but more importantly, even he knows what to do.
Knows what to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like I'm like a sage stick person, all the time. Like it's just
Yeah.
there randomly. And when I feel like I need to light it, I light it and do some smudging, but
Yeah.
nothing. I've never done anything crazy in front of him, but he just knew
Yeah.
immediately. And yeah, it was just, and stuff like that has happened, quite a lot. And I know that it's because he's such a high level soul, and they want to attack the power, of
Mm,
course. They're the one, and I've had so many women that I know who have had experiences like this with their 2020s baby,
mm,
particularly because
yeah.
they're so powerful and they're just under attack. I mean, the whole world is literally attacking these babies.
Mm, yeah.
And so many different avenues as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it too. And it's not to be like come from a fearful place. It's actually how freaking powerful. I mean, I always say, how freaking powerful must we be? I mean, and you think about the kids coming through, how powerful they are. Like, they've
Mm-hmm.
got this. They've got
Mm-hmm.
this. We just need to like let them lead, learn, and know sort of the power of what is going on around. And then, I mean, all we can do then is do our best, and um, and but be aware. It's sort of key, isn't it? It's vital, especially now.
Yeah, it's absolutely vital to be aware. And like the healing work on yourself is so important, because when you trust your own instincts,
Yeah.
then you're able to fully trust their instincts. Not only trust them, but hear for them, listen for them, and
Yes.
understand that they are instincts, not
Mm.
just, a lot of people think that babies are just, hopeless little meat sacks. They can't do anything for themselves, but they are so intelligent. They
Yeah.
are so, so, so intelligent from the
Mm.
get-go. Even like how they are born, it's so I always say to women, you're not going to birth your baby. You are birthing each other,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you are. The baby does a lot of the work and your body does a lot of the work. You just have to get out of the way of that
Yeah.
and allow the process to happen.
Yeah. Wow. That is, yeah. Love that. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you all day long, and I know I could, and I know we would. But seeing as though
I'm like, there's still so much that we haven't spoken.
we'll have to do another one. We'll have to do another one. All right. So it's just awesome. Well, how can people find you, Georgina? How can people find you?
So I will be starting a podcast. I was hoping to get it kind of ready before this, so I could say you could go there, but I had food poisoning the last couple of weeks, so that was
That
not
ain't good. No. Let's start a podcast then.
no. No. Yeah, so I will be doing that. But my website, which is georginagrace.net, I have 2 different social media pages. One's for the birth, one's for the numerology.
Mm-hmm.
The birth is my name, Georgina Grace _, and then my numerology is at Law of Numbers.
Yeah, and is that on Instagram?
That's on the Instagram.
Yeah, on the gram. Yeah.
On the gram.
Awesome. Oh, that is so good. I'll pop all of your links in the description, so anyone can find you and click through. And then when the podcast is ready, they'll be connected to you, so they will be able to tune into all your wisdom and awesomeness. I've just freaking loved chatting with you. I knew it was going to be so much fun. So thank you for sharing your heart with us. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up today?
Oh my goodness, just thank you. Thank you. This has been so fun, so easy talking to you. It's like I've known you for a long time. So it's just
I feel that too. Yeah.
So cool. I can't wait. And I can't wait to have you on my podcast whenever I have it.
Yeah. Oh, look out. Game on, baby. Woo-hoo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you rock. That is so cool. Well, look, I just want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone who has tuned in. To you at home, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have absolutely loved this as much as Georgina and I have. And if you want to leave a comment, subscribe, leave a review if you're listening anywhere you listen to podcasts. I always love hearing from you. So thank you for being here. And Georgina, just thank you again for being here, and little Ollie making a guest appearance right at the very end there. Thank you, Georgina and Ollie.
Thank you so much.